because I switched.
Yep, on it right now.
It's the right key.
All right, we are
Gosh,
recording
darn it.
and we are golden. All right. Welcome everybody to today's Peake State Call. My name is Dale Peake. I'm an 8-figure earner in the direct selling industry and sales world, and it's just exciting to see what's happening, all over the organization, all over the group. The people that are getting connected here with Peak Performance, and I'm just excited for everything that is happening and everything that is going on. Today, I want to talk about a very simple idea, but one that is, it's truth, but sometimes we lose it. Okay, I want to talk about this idea of becoming an overcomer. The bottom line is life doesn't test you on the mountaintop. It tests you in the valley. Okay. Anybody can smile when the paycheck is fat, the marriage is smooth, and the team is cheering. I mean, that's easy. But what about when it all collapses? When the bills pile up, when the people you trust walk away, when you cry yourself to sleep wondering if tomorrow is even worth showing up for. Have you had those moments? Have you had those times? I have. 100% have. By my own doing, not anybody else's. There's in my book that's coming out here in the next month. You'll read a lot of that. You'll be able to read the stories of where I forgot to lead. When I went into coast mode. But here's the thing. The people who win aren't the ones who never fall down. They're the ones who decide in the middle of the mess that they're not staying right there, that they're going to get up and get out of it. That's what an overcomer is. An overcomer isn't lucky. They're not comfortable. An overcomer is the one who gets it, who gets knocked flat ass on their back and gets back up. And today I'm going to show you and give you some thoughts about how to get there, how to realize that wherever you are in your life, wherever you are in your journey, wherever you are, wherever you are is where you are. And you don't have to stay there. I remember, it's funny. It was 2014. So 11 years ago now. It's crazy. I had a huge multi-level marketing business, massive. A couple 100,000 people in the organization. We were doing about $5 million a month in sales. And I had just gone through my divorce. There was a lot of external factors. And I was sitting in a grocery store parking lot in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And one of my top leader actually called me. And I said, "Hey, man, what's going on?" And he was very somber on the phone. And I'm like, "Dude, are you okay? What's going on?" He goes, "I need to tell you something." I'm like, "Oh, okay." He said, I'm leaving the business. I'm going someplace else. And I want to be really honest with you. There's many calls coming today for you. And I remember sitting in that parking lot, white knuckling the steering wheel as I was listening to what he was saying. And he said, "I love you. I'll always love you, but I'm done." And he hung up the phone. I sat there with my mouth open, realizing that, he had an organization of tens of thousands of people. And I immediately went into that panic mode of, oh my God, there goes my check. which tells you where I was at mentally and emotionally. I it was probably 30 minutes before I thought, damn, there goes my friend. And that sucked. And it was about every 30 minutes for the next 2 or 3 hours, I got a phone call. I'd left the grocery store and I'd gone home and just sat in the office. What felt like call after call, call after call. Literally, the majority of the top leadership in my organization was leaving. I remember going to the gym because I was mad and I was angry and I was so frustrated. And I and I dove into a workout. I had my headphones on and I was going to push more weight than I'd ever pushed before. I was going to blow this emotion out. And in my mind, I think I was like, maybe I'll wake up and this will just be a dream. I got back out to my car after my workout, which had done nothing for me. And there were 2 more messages from people to call them. And I remember vividly sitting in the parking lot of the gym crying before I even made those calls. It would have been easy to have walked away in that situation and walked away from an entire industry that had where I was making 100 grand a month. And it was just about over just like that. I went home and I remember I was walking through my condo and I looked in the mirror and there was what looked back at me from the mirror wasn't necessarily who I really was. It was a situation where when I looked in the mirror, I saw a hollow face looking back at me. I had stopped leading. I hadn't done anything illegal, immoral, or dumb. I just stopped leading. I wasn't listening. I wasn't being the leader that I needed to be. And I remember I sat down on the couch. My dog Quincy was sitting up on the couch next to me. We were watching the sunset over the city. And it echoed in my head so loud I can hear it today. And it was just very simple words. You're not done yet. It's not over. And I laughed. I remember I laughed out loud. I literally laughed out loud at myself. I'm like, what the hell are you even saying? So if one of the things I had to do is I had to make a decision that whether it was with that company or another company or whatever, but the bottom line is I needed to pull my poop together. I needed to get stronger. I didn't know how to solve the problem today at that moment. I didn't know what to do, except I wasn't done and I wasn't quitting and I wasn't going back. I knew I was going to have to rebuild. I knew I was going to have to start over. I knew I was going to have to do those things. And I'll be real, it wasn't the company, guys. It wasn't the company. It wasn't the team. I'm not mad at any of those people. In fact, we've made amends in all cases except for the first phone call. And that still haunts me a little bit today. I had to refuse to be down. I had to be the one that my family, the remainder of my team, my future self could point at and say, that's what an overcomer looks like. Since that time, I went on and made, in a couple of different companies, made the top level of the company since then. Was able to really pull some things together in my life and accomplish things that I never expected I would have the ability to do. I hit heights that I'd never hit before. And it was wrapped around the very simple statement that maybe some of you need to write down and put it on your steering wheel or or hang it on your toilet seat or whatever, that you're not done yet, that God's got more for you. It ain't time to go to the house. It ain't time to be small. It ain't time to be quiet. It ain't time to sit back and let it happen. That's bullshit. That's the devil talking to you right there, who's like, you're done, dude. At least Jarrett, you're done. Pam, you're done. Annette, I mean, you got a disability. You might as well just hang it up. Kim, no, you didn't get Dale's email list. So you're done. Vicky Dye, you're just too plumb crazy. So you're done. Maria, you already had your success in network marketing. You're done. You're done. You got two choices. You can go to the house, pull the covers up over you, and hide, which I will say this. There's always time and place for a good hide under the covers. But you don't stay there. You don't live there. This is the time for some of you right now. It's personally, it's time for you to take this challenge. It's time for you to determine that you're not done. And hail to the no, am I going to the house? And hail to the no, am I not going to give it 100%? Many of you are embarking on new journeys, new opportunities, and new things. This is where it's really easy to get tripped up. Maria, I know you've been in direct sales for a long time. And I know for a fact that that if people aren't careful right now in this moment of a brand new opportunity, this is where you can get tripped up and give up. This is where you have to toughen up. This is where you got to have, we've talked about it before, a little bit of that rhinoceros skin. A rhinoceros their skin is so hard and so thick and so tough that lions don't attack a rhino. Once they hit about 3 months old, the only predator that a rhino has is man. We have to develop that skin. And how do you do that? You read books. You immerse yourself in personal growth. You get to a point where you realize that it's top of the mountain or dead on the side, but when they find me, I'm scratching upward. But I'm not going back. In the Bible, they talk about the Israelites and their escape from Egypt. I remember the first time I read that, and you hear about they got to the edge of the Red Sea. And I was a kid, and I was like, I could picture it, you can picture, and then Moses lifted his staff because that's what God told him to do, and the waters parted and allowed the Israelites to just cross over. But they didn't do it right away. They didn't like the idea. They was a bit terrified. And I can picture, he didn't say these words, but I can imagine Moses said something like, we're going to go across because we ain't going back. That's where you have to figure out that place and get to in your life. When your goals and your dreams are big enough, other people's crap don't matter. When your goals and your dreams are big enough, the facts don't count. You'll figure out how to get your goals one way or another if the goal and the dream and the why is big enough. Some of you are taking this step and this journey and you really want to be done. You want to be done playing small, but you don't necessarily know how to play big. And that's why getting your head, because your head knows how to play big, it's your heart that's holding you back. You're scared. And I'll tell you one thing, that they never took away my birthday with anytime I did a recruiting call. If I did a call and it didn't go well, and somebody poo-pooed me and tried to take me out and told me it was a pyramid and all this kind of jazz, I didn't care. I called the next person. I will urge you guys to do the same. You are overcomers because you're here today. You're in this moment. You're in this time. You haven't allowed yourself to just sit in the living room and go, I'm watching Jeopardy every night for the rest of my life at 7:30. You haven't allowed yourself to give up. To play big means allowing your brain the ability, along with your heart in unison, to work towards helping you accomplish the goal that is so big and so good and so strong and so important to you that it's top of the mountain or dead on the side. It's crossing the Red Sea because you're not going back to captivity. It's doing the things that are uncomfortable to do because your hopes, your dreams, and your whys are bigger than the fear. When the fear of staying the same, my friends, when the fear of staying the same is bigger than the fear of change, hell, you'll change. Some of y'all are just comfortable. You're comfortable in your life. You like hanging out and you got friends and you're doing this and you're doing that, but you're comfortable. That means you've got to increase your why. You've got to greater identify the why. See, because you're not comfortable when you truly have that why that makes you cry. You're not comfortable when something you desire and something you want is bursting and it's being created inside of you, just kind of like you were getting ready to give birth. I've never experienced that, but I've been around. I have 3 kids, so I've been around it. When a woman is pregnant, it's not always comfortable. There's kicking and moving and gas and stuff and things and uncomfortableness and pain and all the things. But I mean, the goal is I'm going to have me a baby and I'm going to have me a kid. They don't have the opportunity to, quit. Don't give yourself that opportunity. Don't quit on your goals, your dreams, your hopes. Quit on your fears. Quit on the junk that you're telling yourself day after day. I can't do this. I'm mad at this person. I'm mad at that person. You remember the one person who hears and believes everything we say is us. To become an overcomer, it doesn't matter where you start. It doesn't matter where you're at this moment. It doesn't matter who's telling you can't or you can. It doesn't matter. What matters is what you do going forward. As we go into this holiday weekend, I would urge every one of you to take some time, whether you're around the pool or with friends or whatever, and define the why. Define the reason that you're doing this. Because, guys, I'm telling you, in the network marketing world, when your why is right, you'll call everybody and it'll be fun. And you won't worry about it. You won't feel salesy. You will develop your shtick. You will be unstoppable. And that's what I want for you. I want you to have the ability to say, I committed to top of the mountain or dead on the side. And you know what? I'm not there yet, but I'm climbing. Every day I'm climbing. Every day you're climbing. I want you to think about, y'all watch The Price is Right. You remember the mountain guy going up on the game. And now you're going to Google it and you're going to hear that music and it's going to be with you all weekend. And you're going to be like, damn it, Dale. But that's you. Every step you take is a step up the mountain. So let's go. Let's go forward. Top of the mountain or dead on the side. I love you guys. And I'll see you next week. This happens every Friday at 11 a.m. Central Time. Have a great job. Have a great weekend, you guys. Happy Labor Day weekend. Love y'all.